Chapter 1. Teresa had no idea what she'd been thinking. When Derek had asked if she wanted to go for a hike, she should have known he had something extreme in mind. Eager to please, she'd agreed to it. She was in good shape, but hated the dry New Mexico heat. It was a beautiful state, and she was glad she'd moved out here. But Jesus, the heat could be unbearable at times. Derek was hiking just ahead of her, as they made their way through one of the many trails along the Chihuahuan Desert. They were headed to something called Little Square Top, a feature along this trail that was supposed to provide an amazing view of the desert. But the hike was 6.5 miles long through this God-forsaken desert. For people that were accustomed to hiking, it was supposed to take about 5 hours. And Teresa wasn't sure there was any view on the planet that was worth that sort of torture. Then again, she thought Derek might be taking her to such a view for a very specific reason. They'd been dating for almost 2 years now, and at 27 years of age, she wasn't exactly getting any younger. As they trudged along the open desert and craggy rock formations to both sides, Derek looked back to her.
"How you doing back there?"
"Just great." He smiled at her, readjusting the small backpack he was wearing on his muscular, tan shoulders. She took a few quick steps to catch up to him. They'd both broken a slight sweat, and the pressing heat was not going to let up any time soon. "We're about halfway there, right?" she said.
"Maybe a bit more than that."
He frowned apologetically as he looked at the trail just ahead of them.
"Sorry, babe. I really didn't think it would be this hot. There's usually a really nice breeze that cuts through here."
"It's okay. You just keep in mind that if I pass out from heat stroke, you're going to have to walk back carrying my limp body." He reached out and took her hand.
"I don't quite think it'll come to that."
"At the risk of sounding like a wuss, I think I would like to sit down sometime soon. Maybe for just 5 minutes or so. Is that okay?"
"Of course."
She could tell that he felt bad about her being uncomfortable. But really, what else had he expected? She supposed he found it cute that she was struggling so much. "At least I'm getting a tan," she thought. "And this walk is going to count for every single bit of my cardio this week." They continued up the trail as it made a slight yet continual rise. Teresa looked to her right and saw that there was already a very nice view starting to present itself. The desert, she supposed, was very much like the Appalachian Mountains, near where she'd grown up. Catch either of them at a certain angle or a certain light, and they could be breathtaking.
"Think you can make it over there?"
Derek asked, pointing ahead and to the right. There was a little raised section of rock protruding from the desert ground. It was only about 300 feet further ahead, but it was off to the right and slightly off the beaten trail. It looked back out the way they came, and she thought it might provide just a small taste of the view that was to come, once they finally reached the summit of Little Square Top.
"Yeah, I think I can manage that,"
she said, putting some dramatic flair into just how tired she was. She regretted the slight mockery when the ground seemed to suddenly change direction, heading in a harsh arc upwards. She really had to dig her ankles in, her knees groaning with the effort. It flattened back out gradually, just before Derek led them off into harder dirt and some very sad-looking scrub brush. They settled down on the rock he'd pointed out. Teresa tried to hide the instant relief to her ankles and knees. She stretched her legs out, relishing the feel of it.
"I do appreciate you doing this with me,"
Derek said, kissing her on the cheek. The way he looked at her as he pulled away made her pretty certain that the hike was going to end with Derek on a knee, looking up to her with a ring in his hand. She smiled her best casual smile and shrugged.
"I'm a big girl," she said.
"This isn't so bad."
"So, do you think I could talk you into camping soon?"
"No," she said. "That's where I draw the line.